Hello. Hi. Welcome to Science Institute of Education. My name's Sam. I'm the owner of here and welcome to another video lecture today. Today we are going to discuss about idea generation. I have been listening from many students and many people on my online platform as well that we don't get too many ideas to speak on any topic or whether it's a question or anything like that. So this particular class is going to be focusing only on the idea generation. Let's begin. Idea generation. Now we'll be covering few points today. What is idea generation? Why is it important? And some tips and techniques for generating ideas. So let's discuss each in depth. What is idea generation? Now, ideas are the key to innovation. Without them, there isn't much to execute, and because execution is the key to learning, new ideas are necessary for making any kind of improvement. Right. It's obvious that ideas alone won't make innovations happen, as you need to be able to build a systematic process for managing those ideas. The point of ideation isn't just about generating tons of them, but about paying attention to the quality of those as well. Right. Now, I don't deny the fact that it can sometimes be really difficult to come up with more of those high quality ideas. It's not unusual to get stuck in, like our old habits and routines when we're supposed to be creating something new. To break out of that nut, I have decided to look into ID generation as a whole, as well as to introduce some of my favorite tips, tools, and techniques that can be used to generate new ideas more systematically. Now, what is idea generation and why it's important? You know, idea generation is described as the process of creating, developing, and communicating abstract, concrete, or visual ideas. It's the front end part of the idea management funnel, and it focuses on coming up, with some possible solutions to perceived or actual problems and opportunities. Right now, like let's look at some ideas. How we can do. What do you do? Okay. So, what are those tips and techniques? So strategies for idea generation is brainstorming. We'll be looking at then reverse thinking, some idea challenge, and analogy thinking. These four things are very necessary when it comes to making or any generation of ideas. Without these techniques, it won't be possible. Even though you speak daily, you practice with someone daily, it's okay, you get your corrections corrected, or whatever errors you're making, whether it's grammatically or it's basically getting your sentences polished, it's not the thing. But if we don't have the idea, then how we can speak, how we can form sentences? you know there are a couple of strategies that I also will be sharing with you today. You just write down those points and think about it, that how easy it would be. I will in fact speak a couple of things in front of you, and you will definitely relish it. Right now, let's look at these four techniques one by one. What is brainstorming? Right now, brainstorming, it's, let's say, brainstorming is kind of an activity that helps you organize, generate more innovative ideas. Brainstorming is one of many methods of ideation, like the process of coming up with new ideas, and it occurs during the divergent phase of creative process. And brainstorming helps you generate a large number of ideas so that you can actually produce different options, for solving your challenge. Right. Now, I will be discussing about set 8 rules. Right. But before that, let's just discuss, like, brainstorming may seem, to there's some kind of, paucity constraints, but everyone must observe 8 house rules that are, in front of your screen, and have someone acting as facilitator. Now let's discuss one by one. Firstly, we must set a time limit. Now, what happens is we are too much engrossed into our daily, like monotonous routine, what we do is wake up early or wake up late, like then we procrastinate sometimes, and for no reason. I mean, especially in this pandemic, you know, it's just there is not any type of hindrance that we encounter on a daily basis, but we just choose not to do things on time. There are, however, those cohorts who actually wake up early. They are early birds. They do some kind of meditation, right? They have actually organized their day. And ever since these companies, especially IT-based companies, have started, so people have got the opportunity to stay at home and do their work. But what about the communication skills? As we know that in this era, everybody needs to have a good communication skills along with whatever you have actually studied. No matter like you are graduated from a very highly qualified course, like whether it's engineering or doctor or anything like that, it doesn't matter as long as you have a good communication skills. That's what matters the most. Well, it's a fact, you know so how we can do the brainstorming. Now some people do say that brainstorming is not that effective, but it is to some extent. I do also believe that it's not, but let's just see how it helps us. Now, when you're brainstorming, what you're doing is, sometimes just find yourself brainstorming cards. Those are quite crucial and will definitely be helping you out in terms of generating more ideas. Right. Now, let's come to the first rule. Set a time limit. Depending on the problem's complexity, like 15 to 60 minutes is normal. Now, it's not like I'm talking about a problem that you face on daily basis. Come up with some kind of, like a problem that you're encountering, like which is, let's say, a dime of dozen. For example, COVID-19, as we all know, right? What it's basically symptoms, you know, what the government is doing about it, how people are not maintaining social distancing, and for those who are actually, following all the norms that have been set by the government. you know. So we have plethora of things to talk about here, but it's just we choose not to. That is only because of the confidence, and that can only be gained once you actually become like a social butterfly. Not, I would say that go out and hang out with people and all. I mean, thanks to Zoom and so many other video conferencing platforms, which allows you to interact with your friends rather than interacting in your own vernacular. I mean, it would not be better if you actually speak to them in English. No matter whatever mistakes comes, doesn't matter. Ask yourself some topics. you know so now what you can do, whenever you get a topic, do spend some time. Well, think about it that I'm going to be having only 15 minutes. I'm going to be having only 20 minutes to think about it. I'm not going to take help from internet at all, come rain or shine. Right. So then write down. Now that needs basically a proper coherence. Right. You got to have a good logic. Automatically, many times it comes. If you're, for example, speaking on COVID-19, think about it. Obviously, just I would say, okay, I want you to speak on COVID-19. What would you speak? You would give a general statement like a COVID-19 coronavirus is, where it generated from, since when we have been facing difficulty, what kind of difficulty, how is it affecting people's lifestyles, right? What are the symptoms? All these things will come in your mind. Now, if you want, you can speak for like 15, 20 minutes. Will it be difficult? No, I don't think so. Right. So definitely set a time limit. And you must say to yourself that I'm not going to be spending more than 50 minutes on it at all. Perhaps depending on the topic on which you have to speak. Secondly, begin with a target problem, just like a brief. Now, brief information, like you just got to write on those topics, which you have been given, just write in brief about it. Now, members should approach this sharply, define question, plan or goal, and stay on topic. Don't go over topic, like just don't go off beyond what you're basically speaking or you're entitled to speak on. That would definitely, take off the logic, and you'll end up getting confused that, oh, what am I talking about? Right. Third, refrain from judgment or criticism. No one should be negative, including whether say it's body language or about any idea. Right. So, for example, if you're speaking in front of mirror, as I always tell my students, even, like you must speak in front of mirror every single day. You must record yourself visually so that you can actually find out that how do you look like when you are speaking in English. Perhaps when you're standing, obviously you got to look, like are you giving some kind of negative thoughts, negative vibes when you're actually speaking something? So if you're happy, is your body language representing that you are happy, you are actually thrilled or not? Or you're just making some kind of, sad gestures? Hope that's clear. Fourth, encourage weird and wacky ideas. This is always fruitful when like speak into your any topic. Always generate some kind of sense of humor. Definitely it will help you out. See, the thing is that when we do speak on certain things, we get ourselves so much engrossed into our speech that we sometimes tend to hesitate when we're speaking, because there is no sense of humor. There is no some kind of energy that we can get even from ourselves through what words we are speaking. So how can we expect other person to generate interest into what you're speaking? Right. So you must have some kind of wacky ideas in it. Further to the ban or killer phrase like, like too expensive, these kind of interjections you can bring. Keep the floodgates open so everyone feels free to blurt out ideas, provided that you're on topic. Let's not forget that. Why? So, for example, you're talking about, like, as I've said, too expensive. So you're saying that you're speaking about anything that you liked when you were on shopping. Well, so you can say, "Oh my God, that's too exorbitant. Like, I don't think I will be able to afford it." And I was like, I thought that I should choose some other shop to go for, and I took my friend out. We went to the other brand store, which was quite, a couple of stones throw away. We went there. We saw, damn, that was a good deal. We nearly saved about 1,000. Yes, like, I was literally, I felt like I have totally wasted my time while being in the previous shop. So we bought the item, we came back home, I showed it to my parents. Voila, they were like really happy. Right. So these kind of tones, intonations, along with it, will definitely be improving your confidence. And so as built up confidence will increase your fluency. And the next is aim for quantity. Now, aim for quantity means, remember, like quantity breeds quality. The like sifting and sorting process comes later, but you gotta have like a quantity means those kind of ideas that you can speak on that particular topic. Then sixth, build on others ideas. Now that is quite important. Now why do I say it's a process of like association, where members actually expand on others notions and reach new insights, allowing these ideas to trigger their own say, and rather than discourage with but to get ideas closer to the problem. When you're disagreeing with them, you know agreeing with them, obviously you will be end up saying that, oh yes, 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 I do believe that, oh yes, I totally agree with you, oh yes, yes, I do believe that. That you're only going with them. But if you're actually discouraging them by just raising up questions or raising up, oh yes, excuse me, I do believe to what you say, however I have a different approach to it, in certain aspects, what I feel, then you must break their ideas down. That way the conversation is turning into a debate session, and debate session always be fruitful in terms of generating more ideas, and besides improving your confidence, isn't it? Right. You can, whatever the ideas that you have actually been listening to from others, based on their ideas, just try to form your own sentences. And number seven, stay visual. Now, what stay visual means, like diagrams and post, it's help bring ideas to life and help others see things in different ways. When you have been given any topic to speak on, always close your eyes and think about it. Like you have actually 100%, it would relate to your lives one way or the other. Whether you might have seen some kind of movie, or you might have heard that, about that information from some source, whether it's a news platform or social media or anything like that, it will be there. And the last, allow one conversation at a time. Now you should not be fighting with anyone, like cats and dogs. No, right? To arrive at concrete results, it's essential to keep on track this way and show respect for everybody's ideas. That's why, when we have the debate session in my platform, I always encourage my students to do speak, but let one finish. If you want to stop them in the middle, do say politely, I really agree. I'm sorry. I just, mentioned, I just want to say that I have a different approach because I don't totally agree to that, as I feel that, kind of politeness. Fine. Now, I must say one thing. It is, however, been shown that brainstorming not only takes more time and leads to less ideas, but also, sometimes it worse ideas than if the same participants had just tried to come up with ideas by themselves. Now, there are several other reasons why brainstorming may not be the best way to come up with ideas, such as, like I can say scheduling or organizing and documenting the session in a usable format will all take up even more time. Although there are certain ways to improve brainstorming performance, it's beyond the point. The point is that you shouldn't automatically default to brainstorming. There are, however, some other useful techniques that might be worth giving a shot to challenge conventional thinking, because you're going to need different ideas. It's good to have a few techniques in mind for generating them, isn't it? Most of these ideation methods can be used for more effective brainstorming, but also for other type of ideation. Let's look into that. Idea challenge. Now, idea challenge is a focused form of innovation where, like you raise a problem or opportunity with the hopes of coming up with creative solutions. The point of idea challenge is to participate in ideation and generate ideas around a predefined theme for a limited period of time. It allows you to form a specific question and direct that question at a specific audience to receive new ideas and unique insights. Before setting up an idea challenge, it's really vital to define what you want to accomplish with it, because these are two types of idea challenges, problem centric and solution centric approaches. I mean, you should first clarify whether you are looking to identify challenges or develop potential solutions for them. Keep in mind that idea challenge is the best technique when you need to generate lots of new ideas. It may not be the most effective way to generate ideas if you only involve a few experts in your ideation process, as is proven to be more useful for engaging large audiences. This is where, public speakers comes into handy. This is how they generate the ideas and they are able to speak even for hours on any particular topic. Although idea challenge, enables you to gather lots of ideas fast, careful planning takes time and might not be worth the effort if there are no resources to execute it properly. Also, right timing is imperative for it to succeed. Now, the next is reverse thinking. This is a very common thing that I always tell everybody. If you don't have much to speak about, why don't you just speak on the reverse side? You get an opinion to speak. Obviously, you're speaking on one side. What about the other side? The person would simply feel that, okay, if I do this thing, I'll be beneficial. But what about the other side? The guy didn't tell me nothing. So, oh, I should try that, and end up, getting some bad effects. I will come up with this example later on for sure. Let's just talk about, first of all, like reverse thinking, the opposite thinking. So, reverse thinking is a technique that can help you question long held assumptions, right? It's a useful tool to consider if you feel your team is stuck with the conventional mindset, and coming up with those, like out of the box ideas seems to be difficult. Often, finding the best solutions aren't found through a linear thought process. Although our brains are weird that way, but opposite thinking can help us question the norm. With this type of thinking, you consider the exact opposite of what's normal. You can even think backwards to find unconventional solutions. Basically, what I really want to convey is reverse brainstorming is a technique in which you state your problem in reverse. For example, you change a positive statement into a negative one. You try to define what something is not, and so on. Right. Actually, it's a combination of the well-known brainstorming technique with the technique of changing your perspective so that you can look at the problem or situation from a completely different angle. Reverse thinking can force a small team that's been focused on a problem for a long time to think about it completely different and come up with a broad range of new ideas that might help to resolve it. Let's look at something. Okay, now rephrase the question. So you're looking for more ways to create problems instead of solutions. For example, I would say, how can we get more subscribers to our newsletter? Now the rephrased question would be, how can we get people to unsubscribe to our newsletter? Now if I am talking about only one side, then I can say, what are the benefits of eating healthy food? Obviously you would end up thinking so many ideas. What are the benefits of eating healthy food? Like, it provides nutrients. What kind of nutrients? Like carbohydrates, minerals, proteins and all that stuff. Why are we having them? Because it's quite essential for our overall body growth. Apart from that, it's from cognitive ability as well. It develops that. Why? Then we can just keep extending it. However, are we speaking about the unhealthy food anything? No, we're not. So we must speak on that thing as well. We can just use a redundant language by saying whereas or however. You can contradict by saying, if we do eat unhealthy food, then what are the drawbacks? Now you will definitely end up having multiple ideas to speak about on the drawbacks. That's how you are improving your communication skills, because you end up having speaking a lot more than what you previously had by just talking on one side. And this thing sounds more convincing, because you're basically, what we are doing is we are instilling some kind of danger in people to not to eat unhealthy food. Otherwise they will seriously face some kind of repercussion. Right? Offer possible answers, choose at least two, but more can illuminate lots of possibilities. Now, let's look at analogy thinking. Analogy thinking, this thing is basically is a technique for using information, like from one source to solve a problem in another context. Often, one solution to a problem or opportunity can be used to solve another problem. Analogy thinking can, for example, be used for analyzing a successful business, right? Identifying what makes it great and then applying those same principles for your business. This is an effortless method for coming up with new ideas that are pre-validated. You have probably heard of the countless startups like Uber, Ola, Zomato, Swiggy. you know this is exactly the method every one of those companies has used. However, although this is such an easy and intuitive tool to use, the obvious combinations are likely to be more competitive. So obviously, when you're looking at some kind of competitive things, these business startups, what you can do, if I have to, speak on, like talk about a small business, that got flourished. Now, I can just picture Zomato and Swiggy. Then I would have definitely a hell lot of ideas to speak on it, isn't it? So these are, like few ways, these four structures, we can simply allow you to do some kind of brainstorming capabilities. Now, let's do some structures. Okay. Now, these structures are quite essential when your opinion is asked. So I've just named opinion structure. Now, opinion structure, when you are being asked to speak on, like any topic and you have your opinion to exhibit, then just point, like these four, five things will be beneficial to you in terms of generating ideas. First one is point. You need to state your point. Second is you need to explain your point, right? Now, third sentence would definitely have to be like speak on the opposite side. You would definitely have something to speak on the other side. And then if possible, do give an example. That is quite imperative, because when you're giving opinion, you need to represent that other person, that you need to exhibit that I have some kind of base, I have a support. That's why I'm giving you this opinion. That's why my opinion is so legit. Otherwise the other person may end up, like, do you have a proof? So you can just explain them with some example. You're adding up in your sentences, you're speaking more now. And last, just give a short summary if possible, like what you really wanted to conclude about that point of yours. Okay. How? Let's do example. Now, for example, let's say a question has been asked to me that, Sam, could you please tell me, like, do you prefer tea or coffee? Now, as we can see, there are two things that are asked to me, tea and coffee, right? So I have to choose one of it, right? So whenever any question comes to you, it has two things. Obviously, you need to compare, and the question is about preference. So you gotta be doing some kind of comparison over there for sure. Otherwise, you end up, speaking one or two sentences. I prefer tea because I love its taste, and I have been drinking from my childhood, so I love it. See, only four sentences and finished. We couldn't show any capability that we can speak this like a native language, native speakers. So let's just decide which side you want to go with, and then we must speak on the other side as well. Now, what I would say, like the same question if asked again, like, do you prefer tea or coffee? I would say I'm more of a tea person. Now, that's my point. Right. Now, I would use a redundant language to explain. I have to explain now why I'm so much into tea, because that's my expression I've used. I'm more of a tea person, or more of a tea person, which I've given my preference. So I would use a redundant language saying that, see the thing with cup of tea is. Now this expression, see the thing with cup of tea is. Now this is telling the listener that I'm going to explain you. Don't worry, don't panic, okay? So I can say that, is that having, enjoying, drinking tea from a childhood and blah, blah. I can speak so many things on it. Let's make a, let's form a sentence. I'll just speak for you so that you can understand. Now, once again, do you prefer tea or coffee? I'm more of a tea person. See, the thing with cup of tea is that I have been enjoying drinking it since my childhood. In India, it's been manufactured, and it's also a rising trend that majority of people drink tea the first thing in the morning. Besides, its fresh aroma and mixed with milk sometimes make me feel rejuvenated. It's not that I dislike coffee completely. I mean, when I go out with mates, then I do sip in sometimes coffee, but I never had that craze of coffee as much as I have of tea. Oh, and I can't forget to say that coffee has a lot of caffeine if being drink, like if we are drinking it excessively, which is detrimental for our health. In addition to it, I really, like love drinking tea with fritters when downpours. So as you can see, I spoke so many things, right? I even did a comparison whereby I mentioned something, forgetting what did I say, right? Where I did mention, that I do, drink coffee when I go out with my friends. So it's not something that I hated. So I spoke on the other side as well. That's why my response actually got lengthy. And another thing that you must have noticed that I was, using besides, in addition to this, apart from that, something like this, because I don't want to keep saying and that would make my conversation boring. You know what I mean? So, you know, how much we were able to speak on just one topic just because we spoke on both sides as we did comparison. So do that thing. Okay. Now do that by yourself and start your comparisons and become confident. Okay. Should you need speaking partner, then by all means, in my institute, we do provide various professionals to have, with whom you can have daily conversation with people in English, improving their confidence, thereby enriching their fluency. We've been doing for months, and, we have really got good results. You can take a free demo, and see yourself. I'd like to thank you all for joining me today. Please don't forget to subscribe my channel. Our sessions inclusive, IELTS. Now we have proven band 9 scores from students, so that has been basically, we teach them the basics that how examiners, want to assess you, what they want, rather than focusing on that, how they need to write, how they need to speak. Our main basically priority is to enrich them in terms of intonation so that they can represent themselves so much confidently that the examiners are compelled to give you more scores. I have had, students coming from, some kind of rural areas as well, but it's okay. I mean, they require even those 6 pence, but that's your requirement. My requirement is obviously like more than six, because that way I am trying to show you that you have actually that kind of capability that other students have. It doesn't matter you whichever medium you have studied from, it's okay. If you can read English, if you can listen to English, you can understand the words, then what's the difficulty in terms of speaking? Ask yourself. It's just the goddamn practice that you don't have. So we have to do that with you and increase your confidence. Right. We do have some spoken English sessions also for 30 minutes, for 1 hour daily with various experts on daily basis. Because see, the thing is that I don't want you to feel comfortable with one person. Right. Now the numbers are provided into a description. So if you have any query, please feel free to message us. We will definitely be able to assist you. Right. And you have a very lovely Sunday ahead. Thank you so much for joining me.